Do you know where your Bud Light is? Doobie doobie doo.
Why do I not know this? Because I don't know anything.
You don't
I don't
know that?
I don't know it. When did these
And
air?
they hang up and it calls again and they pick up the phone. It's the police. This is the police. The call is coming from inside the house.
Oh, that's so horror flick.
This must be more
Oh,
recent
it's-
then. I thought you were quoting something from the 80s or 90s.
No, this is 90s.
Oh, 90s. Okay.
I remember calling people up in various dorm rooms, telling them to get out of their dorm room. The calls were coming from inside the dorm room. Back when we had landlines, and that made more sense.
Yes.
Well, let me link it to
Try
you.
and make that joke nowadays.
No, people don't understand that, or the fact that you used to have to dial a phone, and there was a meaning behind the word dialing a phone. That used to mean something physical, right?
Right. Yeah. Rotary.
Rotary, indeed. Okay, let's fix the. Is it live or is it Memorex page?
All right, I should check that. I'm still desperately trying to find a pic.
What's the original one?
Sinatra.
The original
That's the Bud
what,
Ice.
Josh?
Sinatra. He didn't want to record the song,
Doobie-doobie-doo.
but they told him it would be a hit, and he wanted a hit,
Yeah.
so he did it.
We are indeed live, sir.
There we go. I'm wearing my reflective lenses tonight so that everybody can read my screens.
Well, I can cheat with that at least.
Will they be
I'm
able to
trying.
see your OS 10 dock in your glasses? hide
no,
that.
because I
Should
do
hide
show
it.
hide. I do
Oh,
show
okay.
hide my OS 10 dock.
Okay.
Yeah, and I dock it to the left.
That's rather personal information.
It is. It is. I swing that way. I meant the dock. I put the dock over there. Jeez, what were you guys thinking?
I can't imagine.
Here's to everybody watching.
Okay, here's in the public the link to the Bud Ice.
Bud.
Yeah.
Bud. Wise.
No,
No, we
no,
don't need
this
to
is
relive
far
that part of
superior
history.
from.
I don't know. The frogs were pretty cool. The frogs,
Frogs
were
are
cool.
okay, but
Yeah.
they're nothing.
The
on
frogs
this.
were okay.
Which beer company had the "What's Up" ad campaign?
That was Bud Light.
It was Bud Light.
Yep.
See, they have.
They were clever. Oh gosh, I was just reminded that I forgot to put up my Christmas lights.
Hey,
Jeez, it's
Brett, I
ugly,
should
but it's
I
20
should make these
bucks.
my pick. I'll do it next week. But I got a pair of these things on Amazon for $25.
Hey, they're so bright I can't even tell what it is.
You get two of them. They're
Oh.
just these like tiny, like pro-looking metal fixtures that are
Can
LEDs.
you set the temperature on
You
them?
can.
Oh,
I'll show you.
yeah.
You get
He's gonna show you.
this remote
Cool.
with it, and you can pick any.
Is that a Fisher Price remote?
It looks like it. It looks like a makeup color palette, is what it looks
Maybe
like.
ColecoVision or maybe a little bit of light bright going on there.
But I thought, hey, I used to have this setup where I had desks and then light strips. These light strips were behind the desk, and it made a nice glow against the wall. So
Yep.
I should just do that again, and all I have to do is point these lights up at the wall. But
Yes.
I don't know.
I
It's
think
like
that would work out.
it's a little excessive.
It's ambient.
Kent
lot
is
of color
Kent is
back
coming
here.
at me because everything is monochromatic in my camera view.
Just do you have a black and white setting for your camera?
I'm sure that I could do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me see if I can make that happen. About showing the webcams panel. If I just take the saturation down to nothing.
I'm
There
looking
we go.
at our public Discord chat, and the first thing I see,
Is this better?
Jordan says, "You belong in jail," and Rush says, "I'm really tired of your verbal abuse and infidelity."
Well, we're a low fidelity show.
Yep. This is low, and I just put paid to that statement. This is
Okay,
extremely low
That
fidelity.
is very low saturation, but I still see the red from the HyperX microphone.
It's really quite bright. Okay. Let me see where else I
Okay.
can take this.
Just oversaturate.
How's your
Oversaturate
Bud
to
Ice?
compensate for the lack of color behind you.
Doobie doobie doo.
This will be killer. There we go.
Okay,
How's
there you
that?
go.
Is that
Perfect.
good?
I think
Is
it
that
looks
good?
great.
No, I'm not doing that.
Okay.
No, the middle stop there wasn't too bad.
I'm someplace back in the middle again.
Josh,
Yeah, that works.
Josh,
Mess with
how
too many
much
of these
time do you
knobs.
want on NVIDIA Q2?
All of it.
Because
How can it be Q2?
I will not interrupt you. Just tell me how long you want.
Oh gosh. Are the 2022
Awkward
results?
pause.
Isn't it weird that they're in Q2 2022 already?
No, it's NVIDIA. The only weird thing is it's
Q2?
actually Q2 makes sense right now.
But it's 2021.
It's not quite end of Q3 though.
God, they made a lot of money.
How are they
did.
already in
There we go.
Q3 2022? What kind of accounting
'Cause
is this?
They are futuristic.
Okay.
It's stupid how it all works
Yeah.
out, but
I feel like
It's
there's
all
something
black. He's
wrong.
spending 3 years dead for tax reasons.
Oh my
Is-
gosh! High five, man.
Is the stream working? Is the stream working? Apparently it is. Somebody
Yes.
said something in the live chat. All right. It's showing
All right.
0 viewers when I look at the stream health, but I think that's frozen.
That's just our normal.
it's not very healthy.
Okay.
How's your butt ice?
I'm so cool. I could keep a side of beef in my mouth for a month.
Doobie doobie doo.
Okay, now we're having arguments here about whether it's live or not.
Oh, it's reasonably live.
Let me see.
So
Like it's
live.
definitely live on
I'll
PC
check.
Per.
I'll check on YouTube on my phone.
I actually picked up the URL off of YouTube, so
Okay.
I would assume that it's
So
live.
yeah,
I mean, it's been a couple weeks, and I forget how to do anything.
Right,
Let's
and the
see.
bits get
Live.
tired.
Okay, it's live. There's 78 people watching. I'm going to say hey.
okay, there we go. Thank you, Jordan.
Wait, do they actually still sell Bud Ice? They can't.
Oh, yeah.
That's not
They
a
do.
thing, is it?
Yeah. Don't see it often, but I
Wrong.
see it around.
There. I said hey. I checked on the stream. There's 78 people watching, so it's working.
We're live in Australia, so we're doing
Okay,
good.
Perfect. That's all we need anyway. And it's
Do
tomorrow.
they still
in
make
Australia.
Bud Ice?
Prepare to be disappointed, Josh.
It's still there. 5.5% ABV. Wow.
It's only because they're
I'm so
stretching it,
happy that-
watering it
that-
down.
Steakin82, you're drinking a Bud Ice. Doobie doobie doo.
All right. Let me.
Hey, you guys want to do a show or?
Yeah, I'm going to
just
queue up
hang
the
out?
all important Twitter image, and then I will.
Oh yeah,
We'll get
tweet
started here.
to the Twitters and tell them. Hey,
Well,
by
yeah,
the
I
way,
should do
we're-
that too.
Yeah, let's just throw that out there and say, hey, stop on by.
Yeah.
We got a thing going on tonight. Oh, Jordan's porn went out. Good for him.
Oh, he's pulling out malt liquor.
Yeah.
I feel like you already have to be drunk to enjoy malt liquor.
I think
Wow.
even then you're not really enjoying it.
I remember actually using a 2CI at one point. Mirror.
Okay, that's even better.
Hold up a copy of today's paper. Yeah, I don't have anything like that. I got mail today, but it's in the other room.
Got none.
All right, I have tweeted out that we're doing this live.
Yes.
It's time to start.
This is what I got.
We'll do
I got
it
this in the
live.
mail today. I got this in the mail.
Wait, what?
I got this in the mail.
I don't see anything.
It's this.
See
This.
what? I'm blind. You're
Okay, you got to open your eyes, man.
well, okay, not only that, but I probably have to actually have
A thought?
no, the
Wait.
the little pictures with the moving people on it actually up instead of other pages.
Oh, yeah, that's called the talkies.
No, those
You got to watch
I
the
can't
talkies.
see what you're talking about.
If it's just moving pictures, it's just the flickers, right? And then later
could
they
be.
had the talkies.
Isn't
Yeah,
that a
yeah.
Joss Whedon thing? The Flickers.
The flickers is actually
flickers.
an old term for silent pictures.
Yeah, I know that, but isn't it filmed underneath the bean?
I don't know. All right,
Oh, that's definitely filmed underneath a beam.
it's time for 6:42.
Wow.
It's time
You
for
know,
me
and
to
I
hit the record
apologize. The
In a
the
canoe.
email actually went out with the title of 641. I can't believe you guys are still working this
And
one.
I already broke Josh. This is good. A week off
still
is
working
is
this one.
wonderful.
I mean, come on.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep.
let's do it. Let's keep this energy going. This is good. It's a good vibe for the show this week. Not
Right
that
on.
anybody gives a shit what I think, but hey,
Okay.
let's start the show.
all
It's
care.
recording. Okay, it is recording. It is recording.
We
All
all-
right. It's
we all deeply
6:42.
Who's recording?
All right.
What?
Hey everybody, welcome back to the PC Perspective Podcast. We have reached episode 642. It's Wednesday. It's August 25, 2021. I'm Sebastian Peak.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
Shaving cream. Oh yeah, I'm Josh Walrath.
Oh, shaving cream.
I'm not going to repeat any Dr. Demento here. I'm just going to be Brett Van Sprunberg. Nobody knows
And
what that is.
we've returned. We took last week off. If you didn't notice, I'm sure there were dozens of people who were devastated about this. But don't worry, we're back. We
Dozens.
didn't go anywhere. Really, I stayed home. I don't know what anybody else was doing.
I only
but-
smell a bit fishy.
Oh, okay. So
I went to San Diego and down to Tijuana.
You went to Tijuana? Really?
Well, I got to this side of the fence anyways.
Oh, okay. I just looked over.
I got close anyways. That's it.
You can find out when we return like this, when we go live, whatever, pcper.com/subscribe. You'll get an email. I actually was reminded to do a show tonight because Brett sent out the email. I looked down at my watch
What?
like, oh yeah, there's a show tonight.
It's a good thing I sent it out like a half an hour earlier.
I
then.
know. It was at like 8:30.
Oh, wait.
Well,
I
you know
gotta
what?
go make sure
Nobody
that
likes to
computer
talk
works.
to me anyway.
Yes, they do. We'll talk about that
Nobody.
more later. 'Cause
Whatever.
Josh.
We took a week
Josh.
off, but Josh was very busy. He was
He
a
was.
busy boy. Not just eating
You
burgers,
should,
which
you
he also
should feel
did.
how soft my hands are.
Okay. At least you
that's
use
just-
lotion. That's a good
That's just
thing.
the lotion I was going
Um,
to say. Yep.
You can support this. We're making a
My
great
mother is
case
probably watching
tonight.
this.
Does she
and
support
just-
us, Josh? Because she should go
Why?
to
No, but she should.
patreon.com.
I mean, she supports me, so I
Slash
mean,
PC per.
in fact, that supports you.
Yeah. Oh, indirectly?
Yeah.
I don't think I've even met
Sure.
your mom, Josh. I feel bad taking money from her.
That's okay. I've never
No,
met your wife, which is probably lucky
that's-
for you.
Well, I don't know.
Well, but why were you taking money from her?
Oh, God.
why was she giving you money? And what was she giving you money for?
I'm a golf pro.
I just thought you were
That's
talking
not what it
about.
looks like. I was teaching her how to swing. That's why
Right.
my arms were around her like that. All right. We have a This Week in Patreon update.
We do.
TWIP. Let us know, Brett, who we
I
can
will.
thank.
Yeah, thank you very much for your patronage to Graham Miller, which is a relatively normal name. So, really appreciate the normalcy. With,
Hey, they're not hiding
Graham
behind
Miller.
some screen name, you know? They're
No,
putting themselves
unlike,
out there.
Unlike,
Unlike the one that wants to
next
hide
two.
behind Josh.
Yes, I'm going to read these slightly out of order because I want to save the middle one for last.
Well, fair.
Okay.
Yeah, so the next one, I want to pronounce this correctly. I think it's Malafi AMC, and I can't help but this is some sort of weird reference, and I might have just said something bad, but I don't know
American
it.
Motors Corporation.
Yeah, no, Meme Stock, the movie theater company,
Jeremy's. I
AMC.
see him copying and pasting it right now. He's going to.
Yes,
be
Jeremy.
I'm on Pornhub at the moment.
Okay.
Okay, yeah,
And nope, nothing's coming up.
Oh.
that's Jeremy. That's just
Maybe
your
it's
homepage.
maybe it's
that's
We
just
my
your homepage.
life. My
Yeah,
life.
I mean, isn't it yours?
MALAFE.
Coming up with a Puerto Rican singer.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, it could be. Not sure about that. But I'm going to move on while you're looking
Jeremy,
for that.
let
because-
me interrupt real quick. Jeremy, were you named after a certain porn star?
Well, I mean, it's never been fully explained to me. Because all my
Well, he's
other
in big
names got
trouble
handed
now.
down, but the Jeremy just sort
Yeah.
of came out of nowhere. So,
Well,
I mean, it's
anyway,
possible.
My
And I
condolences.
do have hair.
Josh, that was the last name anyway.
Oh,
Yeah, but I was
Yeah.
going to play along with it.
Okay.
okay. Why not?
I
It's
get
all
it.
Jeremy.
Play along with it.
People have no
I
idea
tell
what
you
this
a
is
long
about.
time.
This is all going downhill.
Hey,
tuned into
Brett,
it.
don't be
Yeah.
so stiff. Okay.
This is.
Look at him.
Why
He's
do
sitting-
I have,
he's
why
sitting-
do I have to be the
Brett,
straight man? Why do I have
You're
to be the
sitting
straight man?
erect in your chair right now. Why don't you relax a little bit?
The last one is definitely directed towards Josh.
Don't be a
and I
dick.
want to read this. I'm going to come back.
No,
around
he's
to
going to
that
be a
one.
bun.
Oh my gosh, I just can't. I can't. Can I just whip this out, please? Okay, this is.
No, you cannot.
You're gonna shove it
directed-
in a deep, dark place.
Yeah. Toad Sloth
That was
says,
good
okay, what name are we
option.
on? Let's go. Let's go.
I'm not even looking at the comments. I just can't even look at them right now. The name of this special patron definitely directed towards Josh. And if Josh, you want to respond to this, that's totally fine. I'll be your burger, you be my buns. Josh, any response?
No, it's just.
I'll be your burger.
I mean, you're
you be
two
my
hot,
buns.
sizzling patties. Why do you need buns?
Oh, wait a minute. You can't. Josh is a man who's not satisfied to have just one.
No.
Oh, no, he always
buns.
has two.
He needs two
Yeah.
at the same time.
That's just how Josh rolls.
Okay. I'm not going to
Rolls.
question it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just roll with it.
Speaking of burgers, that was the clean segue after all the editing I'll have to do later.
Good Lord.
Josh, okay, I think you were busy last week, even though we weren't. But this
Yeah.
week, what did you have last week? I don't see it on the list. Last Wednesday. Throw your mind down.
Shaving, budge, fickin', brick of bracket, firecracker, sis boom ba. Let me look in my gallery,
Okay.
and I will let you know what I had the week before. Oh my gosh, did we talk about the kitchen sink?
See,
I think we have in the
Well-
past.
what I want to know is who was disking Tomato Bisque, and why am I not allowed to know who it was?
Oh, he is protected. Account.
Yes, he is, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
just
a-
nice
like
guy.
a witness.
Tomato Bisque is
But
just
he was mad
fine.
because I showed off what I was eating, and he said, "Oh yeah, all I had today was a cup of tomato bisque that I had to reheat at 60 seconds." And I said, "Dude, tomato bisque is like the best thing ever, or second best thing, after baked potato soup."
Oh, I haven't done that in stupid amounts of time. I should.
Oh, I
Okay, so
love
the
baked
last
potato
one
soup.
was this. This is not this week, but that was apparently last
Yeah,
week.
no, this
Wow.
was insane. That's the kitchen sink.
Good
And let me
Lord.
read this to you. And this, I'm going to go in for a triple bypass probably in about 4 months after this one.
Josh,
Triple?
the word sloppy comes to mind. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, and then this week was sloppy too. But no, the kitchen sink is 2 beef patties topped with queso, pulled pork, caramelized onions, French fries, American cheese, and bacon. If you could think of a more unhealthy burger, you're going to have to add Spam and lard, and that's about it. But this
If you
was-
want, I can take a picture of one tomorrow.
You probably could, but I don't want to see it because that's my fasting phase after what I ate.
I understand. I probably won't be
Yeah,
eating
but
much
anyway, it was a good burger. it was extremely filling. I had to have a salad with it because already it had fries on top of the burger, so I just couldn't double up, and I needed to essentially roto-root my coronary arteries. But that's another story for a different day. Wait, he's moving.
He's muted.
He's mooted.
He's muted.
He's
Yeah, I
That's a
mistaken
moot
myself.
point.
He's become
So-
meaningless.
So you went light this week to make up for that, right, Josh?
I did. This one was half the price of that one. And this, underneath that bun and all that cheddar cheese, is a sloppy Joe. And it was still filling. And originally they were like, well, it's a sloppy Joe with American cheese. And I was like, I've had enough of American cheese. Give me some cheddar. And they obliged. And it was magnificent. It's a really good sloppy Joe under all that cheese. If you've never had a sloppy Joe, you should.
You ain't lived.
They're tasty and they're tangy. And a well done one is just fantastic. So go enjoy yourself a sloppy Joe. So 2 weeks of absolutely artery imploding burgers and sloppy Joes. I'm still here. I'm still standing.
Iron Man.
Apparently.
I have a
Not for long.
controversial sloppy Joe preference.
Uh-oh.
A
Let's
lot
hear
of
it.
people
Okay,
in my
all right.
life that I survey about this are manwich people. They don't do any kind of homemade thing. They just open up a can of manwich. Like, I've always found that to be gross. So
Yeah.
I actually
It's
grew
up there with canned haggis.
The way I do it is it's just the meat.
Never
and
say that word
then-
again.
And then you stir in about a half bottle of KC Masterpiece barbecue sauce. Just the original KC Masterpiece. If you've never had it, it's very rich, very tangy, a little bit spicy, and that goes on potato rolls. That's the official recipe.
Do you ever
Three
add any
ingredients.
Worcestershire sauce to it?
No, I think that would be good. I feel like there's a little bit of that
It's
taste to the KC
mandatory.
Masterpiece. Well,
Yeah,
okay.
come on,
I mean,
man.
I like my A1 steak sauce. That has the Worcestershire taste to it.
Yeah, no.
When I make
No.
burgers, I
That's
mix
more-
Worcestershire sauce, salt, and pepper, and
Was
garlic
it
powder
tamarind?
into the meat before I grill it.
Well, it's probably the anchovies.
And, yeah.
Worcestershire.
Super
Which sometimes
salty.
And I don't
take out
like fish,
the-
but I love Worcestershire sauce. It's weird. Chemical reactions, yo. But have we had enough of food?
Jordan
Oh, I
requested
don't
a full hour of burger.
He did.
Hey,
But
we
how do
need
we get from food to tech? What
Easy.
segue do we use?
Easy. Intel Architecture Day 2021. If you remember last year,
You did
it
it.
was a virtual event. And this year, it's also a virtual event. Surprise! But look at this cool graphic as I switch over to the other camera here. Look at, they've got this. This was teased. It was leaked a little bit early. Some of this stuff has been leaked for a while. But we finally learned a little bit more about the performance and efficiency cores of their upcoming processor. We learned about XS. I don't know how to pronounce that. The DLSS competitor. It's a tale of two cores, as I wrote here, is Alder Lake. Reinventing the multi-core architecture, according to Intel. Which, I mean, it's interesting. And I don't remember if I put it on the list or not, but there are some Geekbench leaks already, allegedly, about performance and an i7 basically being within a couple percentage points of a 5800X from AMD. So it could be Intel's return to
ARM
desktop competition.
architecture.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's like they're doing ARM but with x86. So they have their x86 performance cores, and then there are going to be efficiency cores.
Wider, deeper, longer?
Yes, that's what it
Did
said.
they hire
Yeah.
the South Park guys?
No, but because they went smarter.
Wider, deeper, and smarter. Okay.
So yeah, it's definitely the South Park guys.
And what's the? I embedded their videos. That basically.
Well, come on, they
exactly what-
shrunk Raja and all sorts of things.
That was I don't know if that video's out there. I think they published pretty much everything that media saw before.
Yeah, I saw it.
the
So
embargo
it's
broke. Okay.
it's
Yeah,
out
so
there.
it's all out there. That was kind of the different thing about this year. I don't remember if they did this last year or not, but pretty much anything press saw, you can just go to their YouTube channel and watch. All the same, very highly polished presentations that they do now. I can't imagine anybody. Why would anybody go back to live events again when they have perfected this PR glossy version of things like Architecture Day?
Because I tell you what, standing or sitting in an auditorium with 300 people with large screens and like 5,000
Audio.
watts of sound while they're doing this, and you're getting a 50-foot high projection of what they're talking about, and especially in action scenes, it's a different experience.
Are you saying that the movie theater is still viable when it's
Yes.
easier to watch movies in your living room?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me tell you, the one of the slickest ones I still have been to was in 2004 with the 6800 series from NVIDIA. And of course, this is going back, and Ryan
Just a couple of
was
years,
there. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, they had Evanescence playing at like 11, and, Jensen's out there, and we've seen images that nobody's ever seen before, and they actually have a working architecture as compared to GeForce FX. Yeah, it was impressive, and it was something that people were excited about, and you kind of felt it, and you were thinking, hey, good things are going to come out of this. And it was Nala. It was the mermaid girl. Nala, is that not? Anyway.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's going back in time.
Hey,
I'm
did
old.
they happen to mention any operating systems that were going to be able to most easily take advantage of Big Little here? Did they talk about that at all?
Windows 11? You
Here's the thing.
speak
No, I'm
of
just
this?
Well, I'm wondering if they're going to maybe port some of that stuff into Windows 10 for people who don't go to Windows 11. What versions of
I
that?
doubt it.
Here's the thing. Windows RT supported that out of the box, if I
RT.
remember correctly.
Nothing else, but it
Yeah, and
support
Windows
that.
10 for ARM also supports the operating system being able to send threads to small cores.
Oh, in order to weight
So
them, figure out which one should go where.
technology exists in terms of software.
Yep. Okay.
It'll be like Ryzen 1, where there will need to be some improvements to the Windows scheduler. Intel has talked about this thing called Thread Director.
Yes.
Oh, that's
and
right. They were so concerned
that's
about it.
tied in.
So it's
Right,
in the architecture apparently. So that as long as the
But I'm pretty sure you'll need both at the same time. And I can see Microsoft being unwilling to backport that or add it to Windows 10
well, I'm gonna
until
quote
somebody
here.
figures out how to do it on their own, and then they kind of have to.
What Intel says is their unique approach to scheduling was developed to ensure efficient cores and performance cores work seamlessly together, dynamically, intelligently assigning workloads from the start and optimizing the system for maximum real-world performance and efficiency. And they say this intelligence is built directly into the core and works seamlessly with the operating system to, get the right thread on the right core at the right time.
Scheduled
Sounds
for your
perfect.
pleasure.
It sounds like it'll work on Linux, it'll work on Windows XP, it'll work on anything.
Sure.
Windows 2000.
Yep.
But not Vista. Sorry.
No, there's no Vista driver available.
Or Hemi.
And then we got a little bit more about, we haven't talked about this yet, did we? Did we talk about Arc? It's not
Nope.
XE anymore, now it's Arc.
It's Z.
Arc.
But now it's Arc.
thought it was Z.
Arc.
No, they said XE.
Now it's Arc now.
And then there was, nobody could decide whether it was going to be XE or Z, and now
Sexy.
it's Arc, but it's Arc ARC, as in it's capitalized, but it's stylized as capital ARC, but it's not an acronym. And
Thank you,
there,
NVIDIA.
and then there are different code names. The first is Alchemist, and apparently they're going A through Z, so it's Alchemist, and then something that starts with a B, and then like
Barbarian.
C was like a
Cleric.
Bloodletter.
cleric or
Druid.
something. D was Druid. I know that. It's like, what is there a generational
Epididymis.
gap here?
That's a tough one.
Ooh, Epididymis.
Yeah.
We need a processor named that.
I feel like these are slightly older people, maybe just middle-aged adult people who are like, Druid, that's cool. Alchemist sounds really cool.
You know what?
Well,
Duodenum
it's a
would have been
D&D
better.
generation, man.
Right.
Yeah.
80s.
Something that came out of this, though, XE remains, but it's the name of the architecture. So, like, RDNA is behind the Radeon stuff. Now it's ARC, but it's powered by XE, and we don't have execution units anymore. execution units. Now we have XE cores.
clever.
So each Xe core has 16 vector engines and 16 matrix engines. And it's scalable up to high-powered, power like data center applications and whatnot. I don't know exactly what the Xe core count for their first mainstream product is. They're not using code names like DG2 anymore. DG2 is Alchemist. It's a little confusing. But I guess if we think of Arc as like GTX, like NVIDIA RTX 3060. Now it's Intel Arc 3060. That's how we'll do this. My guess is we'll have a Intel Arc 9800 GT.
I'll tell you, they invested heavily in matrix math. Heavily. It's a lot of juice.
Talking about XeSS?
Per shader cord and stuff for vector. So yeah,
okay.
it's they're planning on a lot of things, not just XeSS, but they're aiming directly at the breadwinner, the real high margin stuff from NVIDIA, which is these scalable rack systems and supercomputers that right now NVIDIA is just owning because they have great software, they've got great hardware, and nobody else really can do all the things that they do. And Intel is they're hoping to compete there, and they need to, because it's some serious money, it's some serious performance, and they're betting it all on this in terms of graphics, and I think they're going to do okay. I mean, the first generation maybe not, top end type performance, but it's going to be, reasonable. And I think that they're going to ask a reasonable price, at least MSRP. But we have no idea what, 6 months from now it's going to look like in terms of, what AMD and NVIDIA are able to provide in terms of actual physical parts that you could buy in a manner that is consistent with what we saw from years ago, not what we see today. So yeah, they're entering a very interesting stage of this development, and I mean, they've spent billions of dollars. They've brought in a tremendous amount of people. They have revamped their entire architecture. They have gotten all of their software people kind of on the same plane. Because previously, I mean, if you looked at the last 5 years of Intel graphics before, Raja kind of came in there was something like 27 separate architectures. I mean, they were very, very similar, but, it's like they sent a group off to go and develop something for a single different core. And then another group did the graphics on a different core. And next thing you know, I mean, you've got all these very, very disparate designs that you have to develop software for. And they've fallen behind dramatically in terms, and they've had to spend a lot of money to get things looking like what AMD and NVIDIA has in terms of user experience with like GeForce Experience and Adrenaline, or what is it still Adrenaline now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least for now.
So yeah, they've got some catch-up work to do, and it's going to be interesting to see how well they actually are able to execute, because it's tough. I mean, you're starting not exactly from ground zero, but it's dang close, because a lot of the integrated graphics are, they're okay for what they were, but they always lagged, and their software was not always well received, even though they have a really interesting Linux strategy. My cat is really interested in my beer. Damn it, cat.
Hey,
Go away.
Josh, you
Hey, kitty, that's my beer.
recently talked about,
It never ends.
historical GPUs and components.
Yes?
In the YouTube chat, CR Poll asks, "What happened the last Intel made GPUs? Were they no good compared to NVIDIA?"
Don't mention the bee.
Do people don't know? Intel has made consumer GPUs before. They launched
have.
the AGP bus.
Yeah.
That
And-
was
and
that
they
was
did
the
make ones that
most
never released,
feature.
too.
Yeah.
That was the most feature-rich AGP implementation that they could do. AGP 2X. This cat's killing me. With sideband addressing, and there was another feature that they added in there, and it supported it all. Sadly, it was not the highest performing 3D graphics core. It was about Voodoo Graphics level. To their, benefit, it was good quality 3D rendering. It wasn't anything really truly missing as compared to that time. What it was is they this cat, it's killing me. They had bought the 3D graphics unit of Lockheed, and this was originally like the Starfighter 3D, I think the chip was called, and yeah, and so they got it, and they brought them into Intel, and they added all these extra things in terms of AGP. It was heavy duty for connectivity, and it checked all the boxes for this next generation graphics architecture. But yeah, it was just slow.
Well,
and
it was
Voodoo
good enough
2
for
was
the
very, very close to
flight
coming out,
simulators.
or at least.
But of course, they got the last laugh.
Yeah.
I don't know why it said GE Systems, because I swore it was Lockheed.
Oh my God.
There it is.
Uh,
I-740.
there it is.
We should just know he's going to have one.
Yeah.
Let me get
Oh,
myself
and they
up
were
to
so
speed.
cheap. They were so cheap when but the bad thing is they didn't run on SIS or VIA chipsets.
Oh,
It was
Really?
bad.
4-in-1
Bad
could not
compatibility.
save you.
Those are really popular, too.
You needed to have a 440LX chipset
this
for
is
this
this-
to run.
This is exactly what they did with GG1 because it was specific. It was kind of tied to the chipset because there are certain dependencies that they need a specific platform.
Well, part of that, I mean,
They were downloading the firmware. Sorry, go ahead.
but Taiwanese chipsets at this time, the quality was not just quite there, and plus, I mean, it was in the late '90s, and
Consistent.
documentation was not fantastic. So yeah, I mean, there was improvements made over time. So AGP4X was better. AGP8X, everybody had good compatibility, but boy, AGP2X full compatibility, it was grim. Running an ATI Rage 128 Pro on a VIA chipset, you had to default it down to AGP1X with all the other extras, bells and whistles, disabled. Because it just wouldn't work. Software, drivers, firmware, it was all awful.
I mean, you didn't really have the internet community to meet up
Work
with
on it.
nowadays. Like,
Yeah.
this doesn't work. Please help me. It didn't work so well. It usually involved carding it physically somewhere else.
Well, we need competition and availability. So, unfortunately, we have to wait until next year. There's still no DG2/Alchemist product until next year at some point.
Yeah. Q1 is what they're aiming at.
And they will still be fighting for fab space with everybody else because it's being produced at TSMC, right?
Yep.
Actually, did they mention what node this is being produced at? Is this 10? Is this 7? It's probably 7, right?
You know, many people are assuming this first graphics part is going to be 7 nanometer,
Okay.
but we don't know
We
for
shall
sure. All we know is that TSMC will be making it.
Speaking of things we
And
don't know for sure. Go ahead.
considering, sorry, I'll one more thing. Considering that AMD and NVIDIA will not have their next generation stuff until at least Q3 of next year, it makes sense that they'll probably just use 7 nanometer.
Speaking of Intel and things we don't know for sure, videocards.com, and I know I said video cards, but they do a lot of CPU stuff too. They published a report via something that's on the page somewhere that it's a Geekbench leak through a Twitter account. So anyway, who knows? This could be an elaborate fake, but it seems genuine enough. It's an i7 12700 non-K. So it's 8 performance cores, 4 efficiency cores, and a total of 20 threads. This was not clocked. Well, the base clock is 2.1. The frequency was hitting up to 4.8. And you can see the Geekbench 5 score was 1595 for single core and 10,170 for multi-core. Some comparisons. The Ryzen 7 5800X is about 70 to 80 points higher single-threaded. Multi-core was pretty close. 10,376 versus 10,170. So it's not too far behind. Oh, here it is on the chart. And that's also an 8-core part. So if they're competitive at the i7 level and have... Because the 5800X is really fast. The 5900X, obviously just a little bit faster. Not just a little bit faster. It's 4 cores faster. It's 14,142. So we'll see. Because I think what is Intel's highest end Alder Lake part? Is it 8 performance cores? 8? Is it 20? It's a 24 thread part, right?
Yeah. So it's 8 and 8, but only 8 are dual threaded.
Okay. So 16 plus 8.
24.
But half of the 16 are hyper-threaded performance cores. So it's really only...
Yes.
Okay.
That may or may not get scheduled as appropriate.
Yeah.
Although we hope they do.
And Geekbench is useful as long as everything's even, but it's not the ultimate determining factor. I would like to see some more benchmarks, obviously, leak out or actually get hardware and test to see if that i9 12900K, for example, the 24th thread part we're talking about, ends up... Because that one has higher clocks. That one can boost up to 5.3. That's probably single-threaded. That's like Intel thermal velocity boost level now. All core boosts can go up to 5 gigahertz with that one. And with 125 watt TDP somehow. I think that's like momentary. It'll go down to 125 watts after 56 seconds. I bet.
It's optimistic.
Yeah. So we'll see. I still don't think these are like the inclusion of the... It sounds like they're including the scheduler at the core level. That's interesting. I wonder how this translates into running various applications in Windows, but we will see. It's early, but thought that was interesting. They're already, the leaks are out there that they're going to be competitive with AMD again on desktop, which is good. Intel, it's sad, but Intel has been the value option for the last couple of years. You buy an Intel part because it's cheaper and more readily available, not because it leads on the benchmark charts. And they always used to have the lead, at least for many years, they had the lead in all the gaming benchmark charts. And now they don't have that. So, okay, it's awfully quiet. I think it's time to hear from Josh again.
No.
We have to do this. Take a drink of water.
I'm
get
sorry.
ready. It's time for...
This is water?
I have water. It's time for financial results from NVIDIA. Josh, please.
Good Lord. You know, we thought AMD made a lot of money last quarter. It's nothing as compared to what NVIDIA did. It used to be that NVIDIA was, 1.5 to 2 billion a quarter, and considering that they only had GPUs, they were performing right around where AMD did, which AMD had GPUs and CPUs. And then NVIDIA just really took off, and they continued to take off. And this last quarter, they had a record quarter that I didn't expect, but I guess I should have. They made $6.5 billion in revenue. That's insane. That's nuts from where they were 2 years ago. I mean, it's up something like year over year, 68%. 2 years, it's like 120%. I mean, it's nuts. I mean, their growth has been meteoric, to say the least. And all this is due to, they've done tremendously well in not only consumer graphics, but going into, real industrial type stuff has provided them with a lot of money. And they've backed it up with good software. I mean, CUDA is an industry standard, whether you liked it or not. If you go into universities and you find students who are doing machine learning or anything like this, heavy duty number crunching, they're using CUDA because it's easy to teach. It's software that is, I mean, it's C+ type stuff where you can get results out really, really easily with very little work. And I mean, NVIDIA has seeded a lot of these universities with hardware and direction and everything you could think of. And they have a great software outreach group. So when you put all these things together, they make a tremendous amount of money. And they are producing far more cards than what AMD is doing. I know Steam surveys are not the end-all be-all, but it still shows the 3000 series of RTX cards are far outstripping what AMD is able to do with the 6000 series Radeons. So yeah, 6.5 billion with net income of 2.3 billion. That's just an absolute record for NVIDIA. I mean, it's a huge amount of money that they can reinvest in their company, R&D, new employees, new technology. It's just nuts. I mean, they are now 1/3 of the size of Intel in terms of quarterly results. And that's huge. That's big because Intel provides still about 78% of the CPUs sold in the world. And when NVIDIA doesn't have a CPU it's selling, it's just all GPUs. Well, I mean, it's got some CPUs because it's got SoCs and it's selling to Nintendo and others. Their margins are just absolutely amazing. 64.8%. They're almost at 65% margin. That's some good living. AMD is at 48%, and they have had to claw hand and foot to get to that point. Intel is usually, I think they're actually hitting kind of low at about 58%. So NVIDIA is really in the catbird seat. Very, very healthy company. It's just nuts. Their Q2 last year margin was 59%, and they've jumped that up to almost 65%. I don't know. I mean, they're a well-run company. They've got the market on their side. There's so much demand for their products, both in terms of not only consumer but enterprise. And I mean, they're just hitting on all cylinders, and they've got a rich SKU. I guess you'd say a products SKUs. Sorry, I'm just going crazy here. From the low end, which the low end starts at $350 if you can actually get it at that, and then upwards of multiple thousands of dollars. So yeah, it's good to be an NVIDIA shareholder right now, because I have no idea how long this will last, but I don't think that it's going to go down anytime soon. They're going to level out. They're going to plateau. It's just a matter of when, but we don't know when that's going to be. Is it going to be in 2 quarters? Is it going to be 3? It's going to be 2 years. The market is just so unstable right now. I mean, there's just so much demand. It's hard to make any kind of future assessment of what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. And, we also have to consider that AMD is a much more competitive product range right now, and they will be getting better. Intel is coming into the fold, and they look to have a competitive product at least at certain price points, and they're going to be pushing into enterprise. So that's NVIDIA's real bread and butter in terms of moneymakers. So things are going to change, but for right now, they're doing amazing.
They did really
Josh, there's-
amazing in 2018 too, but
Yeah.
things. I don't have any idea when the mining thing is going to end, unless it's. I saw one of the comments on YouTube a few minutes ago was about, isn't Ethereum going to like proof? Is it proof of stake? Is that what it's called? Where you can't actually mine for it anymore at that point?
I have no idea.
Well, but you can, except not, but only if you, and then there's this,
Oh, okay.
and yeah, so it becomes utter, just the same lunacy. I mean, we've got somebody really pissed off right now at Coinbase because people broke in and hacked and stole their coins, and Coinbase is apparently not providing very good customer service.
What, Coinbase got hacked?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah,
went
pretty
public
bad.
too.
Surprise!
Lovely.
Yeah. And of course, next quarter they expect to increase by about 300 million. So,
Yeah.
$6.8 billion that NVIDIA could potentially make, and gross margins going up even further.
And they're in the same
So-
position that AMD is with regard to, they're only limited right now by how much they can actually sell, because they
So
will
maybe-
sell everything they can make.
No, they're only limited by how much they can make.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Like,
Like,
honestly, they
But
should
they're
think about
different.
putting that
They
money
don't-
into a fab and like starting to
They don't-
fabricate the basic small little chips that were missing that stop the GPUs from
Hey,
coming out. It'd
sometimes
probably make
it's
them
just-
money.
Just capacitors. Sometimes it's just those.
Yeah.
Josh, I
Sometimes,
was going
but-
to ask. Oh, go ahead.
But they use Samsung 8 nanometer for a lot of their
Yes.
current chips.
Oh, yeah.
Their high-end A100 stuff, that's TSMC. But for all of their consumer stuff, it's Samsung 8 nanometer. So they don't have nearly the competition for wafer starts as if they had a 7 nanometer TSMC.
Brett, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was going to mention the sort of the tie-in with they're getting into, or trying to get into, of course, the CPU and more into the enterprise market with their acquisition of ARM, but that's kind of slowed down a little bit. Do you know what the intricacies are of kind of they're starting to kind of slow walk or step back a little bit from that acquisition? Do you know what's the latest
The
news on that?
US is not a problem from what I hear.
It's the UK?
They're
Is
perfectly
that-
fine. The
Yeah.
UK is not pleased that one of their foundational technology companies is going to be acquired by NVIDIA. And
I don't
they're-
blame them. It's a tentpole company for them, so I can get
They're
that.
not happy. So yeah, it's I don't know if they're going to allow that to go through. It's going to be iffy.
Well,
But
I
that's
mean, they've
very
already
critical.
had. I'm sorry. The British exports are already looking into it. So this is the second major roadblock being tossed out by a UK government agency. So yeah, we'll see.
But this is critical to their plans of real enterprise growth and being able to do tight integration
And world domination.
and world domination. I didn't want to say it because it really is a forward-looking statement, but yeah,
It is.
Well, they skipped Manhattan and Berlin and just went straight for Cambridge.
yeah, okay.
Wow, that's a whole Leonard Cohen type thing that most people won't.
Some of us do, Josh. Thank you.
Yeah, some of us do. Sebastian might. I'm not sure.
He probably wants to move the show along.
I
Really?
think it's
First,
time for us
We
to
take
a
Manhattan. And then we take Berlin. Yeah.
It's amazing that you guys can do that with the delay. This is the power
Practice.
of...
We have been together for too long.
All right, let's pause here to hear from this week's podcast sponsor.
This is podcast sponsor number 1, and it's Text Expander, who wants to talk about their taking the repetition out of their work. Taking the repetition out of their work. See what I did there?
Nope. But I
Okay,
heard.
we'll check the instant replay later.
Can we check the instant replay later?
Yes, exactly. Jeremy, thank you.
We're back, and I don't know if you follow Jacob Freeman on Twitter. Anybody who does, he works with, obviously, EVGA. There was a picture that he posted from Facebook. I don't know why. It's layers upon layers here, but it's a picture of the X570 Dark motherboard. They've teased this. There was a YouTube video on their channel just showing off the logo. People are getting excited. I think we got a quick glimpse of the back of the board at some point. This is actually what it will look like. Here's a zoom. As you can see, this is not your traditional board here. This looks like a serious overclocker's tool. It's not just a consumer board. There's only 2 DIMM slots. You do have 2 16-lane PCIe and a x4 down here, but I'm not. What is happening down here? What is?
I think that's audio.
Is that audio?
I think
They're
it's
getting in
really
business.
big.
Yeah, it'll be a separate audio cap thing.
Okay.
Yeah, those are really big caps, actually.
What?
Yeah, we know they're big caps, but I'm just thinking that I'm curious what kind of audio chip that's driving all that.
It's got to be
Well, it's
something
either
new.
it's power stabilization, or it's filtering. If it's used on the audio side, it's for filtering
Do you
purposes.
think this by 6 PCIe power input below that audio feeds audio directly with a separate? Because their
That would
new-
make sense.
Their new audio cards
No.
are driven by a separate
No.
6-pin, just like
There's
that.
no audio card that is going to pull 75 watts.
But Josh,
Yeah.
EVGA
Well, is it a
sells
pin?
one
I know,
that has a
I mean-
6-pin input.
Happily, excess is never enough, but what
Wait,
that is
no.
probably going to do, that's going to power the lower PCIe slot.
I think I'm wrong. I think it just takes a SATA. Now I can't remember. And I have
I don't
one of
know.
these.
No, but it looks like a separate power separator. But I don't know. The vertical lines on it are kind of ruining it. My brain is stuck between deciding if it's a Dvorak or if it says dork.
Yeah,
Because there's also a Dvorak in there. It's just missing an A.
Yeah.
All right, what's up with the heat sinks here? Because obviously if the RAM is on the top, for audio listeners, you're looking at an ATX motherboard, but above the CPU socket, the memory slots are
Is
where
that
you
a-
normally have VRMs and VRM heatsink.
Wonky USB port at the top beside the
I see
reset.
that too. It's
Yeah.
got to be some kind of
it's got to be RGB.
no. I don't know. I feel like it's a
I
diagnostic.
wonder if it's like a plug-in
I'm with
diagnostic panel for the
Sebastian.
front or something.
Yeah, I'm with Sebastian.
This is going to be the
Diagnostics.
LN2 platform for overclockers on AMD CPUs. That's what
Well,
it
I
is.
still have two
You
questions.
laugh, but I
though.
mean, it's designed to be on a bench table. This is not like a traditional motherboard in any sense.
No, but I still have two questions.
Okay.
Where's the ATX power?
On the side.
You saw
It's
it there.
Facing sideways. It's here.
Oh, okay. Thank you. There it is. And where's the CMOS battery?
It's right here.
Oh, there it is. It's beautiful. Oh,
This is.
I
this
can't
is
complain about that. That's
100%.
actually quite smart.
Yeah, it's
You just
right
didn't
out
scroll it
there
up
in the
far enough.
open. It's like an old school motherboard in that regard. I do kind of like these. Even the USBs are horizontal, although the front panel connector is still that traditional configuration.
What is
That'll be
the,
the last
uh,
thing we ever get rid of.
What is the recessed one in the bottom left? The one with the board cutout. What do we have
This
going
is
on
what I
there?
had suggested.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
was
that's a
immediately
6-pin
shot down.
PCIe.
Might be
But
separate.
what
audio
it's
power
doing-
for this region right here.
No, I think that is powering probably the bottom, because a PEG slot has a max of 75 watts, and that's
Right,
what
right.
a 6-pin will provide. Because if you look up at the top, you've got in the top right, you got the 24-pin, and then you've got two CPU 8-pin. And I think that those provide power to not only just the CPU but also other parts of the board. So yeah, I think it's at bottom.
What's this up here? Some kind of proprietary.
SATA.
Say SATA. SATA.
That's a weird SATA port. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the SATA power.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on here. We don't know anything
Fair, okay.
except I will. It was interesting in the replies. Jacob clarified it's X570S. Not
Ooh,
just
doesn't need
X570.
active cooling.
Right. I didn't know if that was a grill
Silent.
over the fan down here where the EVGA logo is, or if that was just going to be passive. But apparently it's passive.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, I think they're down on logoing on this. I think there's only 3, maybe 4.
There's only
EVGA
3.
logos. There are only
You
3.
can only
EVGA
find
logos.
3.
Really?
I see one on the board, one on the heatsink, and one just above the main heatsink.
There's one on the
Yeah, I
back
thought
as well. Look.
Okay.
Oh, there we
There's
go. Okay,
EVGA
so
right
at least there's
here.
4.
And then you
okay,
have EVGA
4.
over the south.
You
bridge.
found the hidden
EVGA,
EVGA.
EVGA.
Yep, and there's only 3 darks as far as I can tell as
Right,
well.
there's the dark with the Ryzen logo circle here.
So dark Ryzen.
Yeah.
And then
There's heat.
Then there's the dark there, and then
dark. Where
there's
else does it say
Dork.
dark?
or
then-
Dvorak.
Oh, dark right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or Dvorak.
Dork.
I believe
This
the one on the left, right above the I/O ports. I bet that lights up. I bet that's a.
I bet
light
it.
one.
You know what? I don't know. But I think this is a PS2 port right here. That's a PS2 mouse
Yep.
/ keyboard combo port.
Yep. I'd love interrupt-driven
Tasty.
external I/O.
Now all it's
gonna
missing
be
is
inexpensive.
a floppy controller on board. That would be great.
I think that's a reach.
Okay. All we have right now is a picture and the fact that it's X570S. So I guess we can move on. I'm sure it'll be a premium priced motherboard. We saw Asus has the ROG Extreme coming out, but I think that one is based on just regular X570, not X570S. I could be wrong about that. Quickly, Gamescom is going on right now, another virtual event. NVIDIA has a blog post about it. I saw the PR for this morning, so I'm going to mention it because there are more RTX games coming. I know this is not really a big shock, but certain games they were talking about will have RTX features at launch. The one that I kind of was confused about at first was Battlefield 2042. If you look at the breakdown of these games, which includes Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, which has ray traced reflections and DLSS. I was noticing there were some games that just had DLSS. Like, they weren't saying real-time ray tracing, they were saying just DLSS. And that's what Battlefield 2042 is. Enhanced with NVIDIA DLSS and NVIDIA Reflex. So this is going to be one of the Reflex games.
Oh, I don't like Reflux.
But I don't like Reflex
Yeah, it
either. I
hurts.
struggle with Reflex. But yeah, it's just, there's no, like, I was looking, like, rereading this, there's no, like, real-time, like, ray trace reflections, global illumination, shadows. No, it's just DLSS and Reflex. Is this the future? Will there be more games released that are RTX branded but don't have real-time ray tracing? I thought that was weird.
Yeah, you got to change your engine around to do RTX, but not so much with DLSS, from what I understand. I could be wrong, but
Let's see. Myst. Myst is going to have real-time ray tracing and DLSS.
It'll be great looking.
I'm sure it will be, actually. I would rather demo, like, play this to demo RTX than Minecraft, personally. But
Yeah, I'm with you.
what about the Lego game?
that one looks amazing. I have not played it yet. I mean, it's the best looking demo I think I've seen
It does.
so far.
It's weird.
Yeah, it looks ridiculous.
What is...
Well, oddly, Lego has sort of embraced the online world, which you wouldn't expect from them, but they have.
Hey, look. Minecraft stole Lego and made a game out of it.
Yeah, and
Lego's taking
then
it
Lego
back.
said, you know what?
Right. And of course there's going to be an online component because that's what Minecraft is. Okay, speaking of things and people on this podcast, sort of, I don't know. I don't have any transition mojo, but we're just going to do it anyway. There's-
Josh.
There's a channel
Ruprecht.
that's rather popular with, you know, the YouTube community, AMD fans. I'm trying to get past the intro ad here. Let's see. Here we go. So, Moore's Law is Dead is the name of a popular tech tuber. And here we have the Broken Silicon podcast and none other than Josh Walrath. was the guest for some 2 hours last week.
2 hours. Yes, Moore's Law is dead. It's not James Brown is dead, even though James Brown is dead. But it's not a techno song. Moore's Law is dead. Tom from Moore's Law is Dead has invited me last week to join him on his 2-hour podcast to talk about kind of retro gaming and how it kind of fits in with what we see today. And his main goal, idea was that we're still in a relatively cheap time, if you go by MSRPs, of gaming machines versus what we had in the past. So early 90s through mid 90s, you were expecting to pay, in inflated dollars, $4,000 to have a low end machine. And, it kind of waned and waxed with the years. And, but we talked about all kinds of things. We talked about 3DFX. We talked about the release of the Intel Pentium 2, 266, and how that was $1,500 the very first day it was released. Motherboards that were available. How we've seen how motherboards have become more integrated over time and added a lot of value to people. How AMD has been competitive throughout the years. The rise of NVIDIA, the loss of 3DFX, all kinds of things. I mean, we talked seriously 2 hours about all of this stuff, and I thought it was a rather good conversation. We touched upon some current things about where we see our ray tracing going, not just RTX, but ray tracing as a whole, and what kind of benefits it shows us right now. And who could benefit from it, and why it's important, and why it may be not nearly as interesting as some people put it out to be. But yeah, it was a pretty good and coherent conversation for that amount of time. So yeah, if you want to go check it out, and sometime we'll have Tom on the podcast here in the next few weeks, I think. And it'll be a nice little back and forth. He's got an interesting channel. He's an interesting guy to talk to. You may agree with some stuff, you may disagree, but he's kind of at the cutting edge of all the rumors and leaks that have been coming out lately about all the major players. So it's kind of fun to sit down and chat with him.
He puts together some reasonable projections and maybe some educated guesses as well. It is a fun show to listen to.
Yeah.
Yep.
His regular Moore's Law is Dead, or the audio kind of the podcast that you were on is kind of an audio show. So,
yep. Yeah, usually his stuff is 15 to 18 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes or so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you get you talking and
I'm
he just had to feed you a topic.
That's sad.
You miss the old 2.5 hour podcasts, don't you, Josh?
No, I don't. Not at all.
No, not in the least. No. He says it about an hour and 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been recording for just about exactly 1 hour. Okay,
We're doing
TechSpot did an interesting article. I actually read this on my own time. They were comparing CPU cores and cache. I have a comment about this, though, just because, as interesting as this is, it feels a little
It's a
weird to
pain
say
in the
this.
ass to try and level stuff out, and they did a good effort.
It was a good effort. However, when you actually start looking at this, because the results are very tightly bunched, even when you are controlling your variables as much as possible, like disabling cores and trying to make this a true cache comparison. Because this idea is, how much is the massive amounts of L3 cache, especially on the Ryzen side of things, affecting performance when you are CPU bound? And it seems reasonable to think that, all other things being equal, here at the bottom of this chart, just look at this: 6-core Intel processors and by the 6 cores, I mean only 6 enabled. So 6 cores enabled on the i9-10900K. You still have 20 megs of cache, regardless of how many cores are enabled. 20 megs of L3. And as you can see, it scales with cache. You go from an average of 429, because this is like ultra high frame rate gaming, to 470 to 508, and you're jumping from 12 megs to 16 megs to 20 megs of L3. Now, a problem here that one of the commenters made on the article that I kind of thought about, like, if you're getting this kind of scaling impact from, I don't know, maybe I'm backwards here, because if you're scaling this much, I just wonder if 1080p is low enough. And this particular game, this is Rainbow Six Siege, Vulcan. It's at 1080p ultra.
Well, which is also one of the ones where it's actually visible. Like, there's a reason you picked this one, because it's actually visible on this one.
Because it's uncapped, so...
I guess my thinking is if you're going to do 1080p, you need to do low. There's, like, this one's very close. Here's Horizon Zero Dawn. They're doing
that
Ultimate.
is a better example, I think.
Okay, I was looking at the wrong chart.
How many games are CPU bound at this point?
This game is obviously GPU bound even at 1080 Ultimate, because you have anywhere from 165 to 168. It's just normal variance in benchmarking is like 1 to 3 FPS. So the lowest average number here was the 10600K at 165 frames per second, and then the i7 and i9 both had 167, and then it was 167 with 8 cores enabled and 168, and then 168 again with 10 cores enabled. It's obviously GPU bound here at 1080 Ultimate. That's what the commenter was saying. And it makes sense.
Right.
Do 1080 low, or do something crazy. Do 720 low. Just create a situation where the GPU could just run amok unless the CPU was holding it back. But then it brings up the argument of how valid is that of a test? Who's playing 1080 low at 500 frames per second? Who's playing...
Well, to quote you're just trying to exacerbate the differences between the CPU models you're testing.
Yeah, but it irritates me that
I
you
know.
do it.
It's
like,
become...
it's all
well, of course it
academic.
does.
It's like, okay, if I run these tests at 320 by 200 at minus low quality, like
320 by 240. Come on, get it right.
There you go.
well, I mean,
He's-
old DOS
he's
games
right.
were 320
True
by
hipsters.
200, but, if you run that low, then you will see... Probably you will get into situations where everything is CPU bound. Maybe even integrated graphics would be CPU bound at that point. If you're doing like...
That might be a more valid test.
Let's do one
Just because
by
you're still
one
hitting the same
pixel.
buses.
1 by 1 pixel. And
There
make
you
it
go.
the best quality pixel.
The single
Ultra-quality.
photon test.
How fast can it blink that pixel?
But and I say this as if, we've already figured out how to do this, but if they could figure out some CPU bound productivity apps and test it that way, it would be significantly more valuable. Now, people aren't really interested in Excel benchmarks, but I would argue that they're almost as excited about that as they are playing Battlefield 2042 at 1080p low. But yeah, no, I still think these type of tests have value, but we've hit the point, not just from the hardware side, but from the programming side, where trying to find a GPU or a CPU bound game is next to impossible unless you go for one of the old benchmarks masquerading as a game, in which case, well, it's 6 years out of date, so who cares anyways? So while I still think this sort of stuff is valuable, we need to find a better way to do it. Well, it was nice to see these guys at least try it out. And, disabling cores on the Intel systems and clocking them all the same, that I got to respect the amount of work that would have taken.
Yeah, and from experience, I can tell you that you can spend a tremendous amount of time trying to figure out where the bottleneck is between CPU and GPU and accomplish almost nothing. And I did this long ago. Here's an article I wrote for the site in 2015. how much CPU do you really need? And I thought I was so smart because I went out and actually spent my own money and bought a bunch of different processors and graphics cards on Amazon and Newegg, and did all this testing in my spare time. I would get home from work. I was working 10-hour shifts. I'd get home and then run benchmarks all night and then work all the next day and do it all over again the next night. I did this for weeks. And I have some absolutely ridiculous conclusions here, if I can even find some of the charts. It's like, what did I even run? Sniper Elite 3, Thief. Here's Metro Last Light. Okay.
Yeah.
But the problem was, I think because it was over such a long period of time, and I ended up with these just pages and pages of spreadsheets, all this data, some of the results I think got a little muddled, and I didn't fully understand, I think, the differences between samples of the same GPU, because I had like 2 of one GPU. So I thought, oh, I can save time by doing tests on 2 benches at the same time with all the same stuff, and there's sample variance, so that's not valid anymore. The present day version of me would have trashed all these results, but back then I didn't know any better. So I borrowed a 9590 from Ryan, and I think all the other stuff I got. No, I think I borrowed the i5 and the 9590, and everything else I went out and bought. And it's just a ton of stuff. Like the number of configurations here just scrolls on and on and on.
Wow.
It was like 36 results per chart. I think 36 different system configurations I tested with every game. And I'm doing 1080 high, which is it's just too much. It wasn't one GPU. It was here's a 290X and a 980, a GTX 980, and an R9
780 Ti. I saw down there.
770.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one where I had 2 of the same 770s and thought I could, use them interchangeably like a fool. R7 260X, a GTX 750 Ti.
Oh, 750.
At that point I thought, oh, the i5. The i5 is all you need for gaming. I think my conclusion was the best CPU for gaming is the Core i5 4440 of the ones that I tested. But I didn't test enough games. I wasn't testing at low enough resolution. It's hard to do this stuff. It took me weeks and weeks as I was working alone. And, TechSpot, I admire anybody who puts that much effort into an article like that. And then I was reading the comments, and it just reminded me of my article because it was just people dumping on me in the comments. So it's like all that work, and people think that it's crap because they don't agree with my conclusions, and then it made me question my test methodology and all that stuff. So. But hey, I got to drive down to Kentucky and do a video with Ryan about it, so there's something.
Huzzah.
And you probably got better at it after over a period of time.
It's a learning experience, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, yeah, it's hard to do this stuff. It's hard to figure out where the difference is. Oh look, it's very young me with Ryan.
Nice.
It's like I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't know where to
You
look.
look a little nervous. You look
Yeah,
a little
I had no
kind
idea.
of nervous in the whole thing, yeah.
Okay. Let's
You were worried that
pause.
Ken was going to sneak up on you with a popper.
I know. No, that was pre-popper era. Okay. Let's pause here again to hear from another podcast sponsor this week.
Podcast sponsor number 2 from Simply Safe, Home Security. It's a new sponsor, actually. We welcome a new sponsor, so thank you very much.
I feel
I need
safe.
you to raise the energy level for the ad read.
Simply.
Simply Safe, new sponsor. Thank you very much.
They're simply irresistible.
That's a totally different podcast. That was earlier, like an hour ago. That was what was going on then. I mean, the full frontal
Robert
nudity.
Palmer's dead. Din, din, din,
Wow.
din,
You know,
din, din, din,
he
din,
is.
din, din. Anyway. That's
No,
not
that was
actually
the,
a
the
song.
most recent
But
boss.
Robert Plant still alive. Pretty
He
sure.
is. However,
Yeah, but
that drummer.
we planted Charlie Watts.
Charlie
dead.
Watts recently also dead. Yes.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
Charlie
80.
Daniels
Good run.
still alive.
I can't believe that. That's amazing.
Somehow you are correct.
Anyway, moving along.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Very quickly, I'll cover a couple of reviews that were published while we were gone. Fractal Design, or sorry, Fractal. They've dropped the design, even though their website is still Fractal Design. Fractal Torrent, high airflow case. And you don't even need to read my review, because no sooner did I publish this than I went around looking at other people's takes on this. And none other than Steve at Gamers Nexus called it Case of the Year so far, 2021. Absolutely loves the case. And why wouldn't you? Because
Oh,
it's just,
in other
it's
words,
all,
he agreed with you.
All it is fans
it really,
and
yeah.
open space.
Big open front panel. I actually really like the design of this front panel. I
It's
call it
decent.
art,
I like it.
think it looks Art Deco, kind of.
It does. It does.
Almost.
Yeah.
And you know, you can fit a huge components inside of it because
Okay,
it's an open
here's
layout.
the problem.
What?
You know what the problem is?
No.
What?
I don't see any optical drive spaces.
No, but you know what? It has these
Oh.
convenient USB ports to plug external optical drive into. I noticed.
Hey,
so
how big are those front fans?
they're 180 millimeters apiece.
100.
When I was unboxing this, I hadn't read the reviewer's guide or anything yet. I just was grabbing it, took it out of the box to look at it, and I thought I was looking at the front panel here. I'm like, oh, it must have like a cover.
That's the bottom.
And right, it's the bottom. Like the bottom has triple 140 millimeter intakes on it. The last case I had with triple giant intake fans like this, it was actually triple 180s. It was my Silverstone Fortress FTO2. There are a couple of things that reminded me of Silverstone in this build, or this case.
Yeah, my RVO2 behind me that I used for my wife had that same triple 140 setup.
Did they also go with a top mount PSU on that?
Yeah.
I mean, probably.
No,
Yeah.
wait.
It was like
Yeah.
off to the it's like up and off to the side, right? Because those
Well,
have the optical
this
drive
was
bays
a
in the front.
vertical orientation with the RVO2,
Oh, okay.
the Raven.
That was right. It was rotated, right? So the
Yep.
I/O was
Yep.
on the top.
Yep.
That's the one thing this doesn't do. It reminds me of those cases, but it's still a traditional ATX layout. So if you look at it, the front has those two big 180 millimeter intake fans. We got the RGB version of this case, which, by the way, it's not cheap. This case, if you get the RGB version, is $229. The version without RGB is $189. So still quite pricey, especially considering they have the high airflow Meshify series already. You can get an ATX Meshify for $140. So, and here you can see that top-mounted PSU area. You have to take the top panel off, which is super easy. It's 2 thumb screws, and it comes right off. Which, again, another Silverstone thing, because the Silverstone Temgen TJ08E case that I used to have had to take the top panel off and put the PSU on top, just like this, and then route your cables. So I was getting a very strong Silverstone vibe throughout the entire process. I will point out, if you're looking at the back here, this is how it shipped. You've got grommeted cable routing openings around the board, which is nice. You have the Velcro straps. Down here you have a PWM fan hub, which, okay, because they shipped us the version with all RGB fans. These were the kind that there was no RGB hub, so each fan had to be daisy chained to the next. And then that eventually had to make its way to a motherboard header. So I had this huge tangle of wires to try to fit somewhere neatly and not block anything. So that was kind of annoying. It's really my only knock against the case. That and the fact that this fan hub, it's designed so that everything, including the CPU fan, plugs into it, and then it plugs into the CPU fan header. But it's in the bottom left corner of the back of the case, and it doesn't come with a cable. I didn't see one. Maybe I completely missed this, but they would have to have an extension cable for your CPU fan to reach all the way back here.
Right. What did you do? Where did you find that cable?
I didn't. So I simply plugged all the fans into this and then plugged the included PWM fan into just one of the system headers on the board.
Oh, okay.
And then I had the CPU fan just running off the CPU header. So here's my completed build. I did a... What is this? It's a Z590. It was the 11900K. I think was still on this Taichi board. And it's a RTX 3080 Ti. And I used this Cooler Master Hyper 212 Black Edition cooler, which is an insane choice with an 11900K, but I was manually enforcing all power limits, so I thought it would be fine. It still got to 92 degrees under load, but you know.
Yeah, but the
Yeah,
whole
it's
thing looks
toasty.
great.
Yeah,
It looks really nice, though. It was a nice.
It was a
looking
nice
build.
looking build.
And I like your Licks SSD.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It always looks like he's outlined it in red digitally.
Licks.
No, it's just that neutron drive. Oh, this was interesting because the PSU is at the top. You know, like all
Old time.
computers used to be.
Mhm.
It has this series of Velcro straps all along the side, so you can have your power cable neatly down the side.
How
That's thoughtful.
I've seen that
nice.
before. It was
That's
so
thoughtful.
nice.
Nice. That's nice.
And I did some performance testing, just real quick. I did it in like components out and then components in the case, and the differences are not huge.
What'd you spend those 180s at?
I
How
don't.
fast did you spin 'em?
I don't know because I had it at the performance preset of the motherboard because I just had it on a motherboard fan header. I should have checked.
okay.
I have all the data I think saved from HW info. I can look, but
And from the 11900K, that's actually not too bad.
yeah, for that and as you can see, if you're looking at the chart, sorry, audio listeners, for many reasons, but for one, I'm not describing this very well. The open test bench, the GPU was 11.6 degrees above ambient at idle, which is a zero RPM idle, and then 51.3 above ambient at load. Inside the torrent, it was only 6.7 over ambient at idle, and it dropped from 51 down to 47 at load.
That's great.
So
That's fantastic.
you get better temps, generally speaking, inside the case versus outside the case. It kind of flip-flopped in a couple of things, but it was within a degree. So yeah, you'll have lower idle temps. You'll have your overall system board will be at a lower temp. I should have done more testing on like thermals, like memory. You know, everything benefits from airflow, and you have a tremendous amount of airflow with this case. And it wasn't even that loud. Like I put my sound pressure meter about 18 inches from the front panel while it was running, and I got a high of 39.1 decibels. And that was at load and idle, so it was pretty much just the fan noise from the front fans at that point.
How much above room ambient was 39.1? That seems like very close to ambient. Really, it's not much above.
It really depends on your room. I think
Yeah.
ambient, it's hard to say because my meter isn't good enough to really tell me. My meter bottoms out at about 31 decibels, even though it claims to go down to 30.
Well,
So-
I mean, were you finding somewhere that's under 30 decibels with a kid in the house?
I know. That's why
I know, really.
Literally, I have stopped doing serious noise testing in this house. I would need an office to do it because there used to be a time
I mean,
when
no, a benchmark of louder than small child,
Yeah.
quieter than small child is actually pretty valuable.
He's got a funny point.
it's very true. I mean, I used to take this really seriously, and I would shut everything off. I would tell my wife because it's before my son was born. I'd be like, "All right, I'm shutting everything off. Gotta do sound testing." I would literally unplug the refrigerator, turn off anything electric in the house, and then come down here
AC, got that
Everything
turned
was off.
Of course, yeah.
and tell her you have to be absolutely silent. I would do my noise readings. And then I'm like, okay, you can turn everything back on again. And, go. And then most of the time I'd forget to plug the fridge back in. That was a little bit of a friction point. So 3 hours later, "Shh, don't open
Exactly.
the fridge! As she's opening it, I forgot to plug it
The
back
milk,
in.
the milk is bad. The milk is bad.
But it's okay. I got the sound test done. It's okay if we ever throw everything in the fridge away.
Yep.
Because now I know how many decibels this, side.
Wait, so I could sort of swing this to get you guys to pay me to go over to Main Island to
yeah,
do sound
yeah.
testing.
We'll just
Be
ship you
quiet
all the
there.
Because
stuff.
let me
really
tell you,
quiet.
Noise testing out.
the gentle shrush of the ocean is the loudest thing going on.
Moving along.
Yes, gave it the gold award. Lastly, but not least, the headset I've been wearing that you're listening to. I won't be doing any compression or anything on this beyond what I normally do to publish the podcast. So
The audio is good. By
pretty
the way.
much hearing just what's coming out of this mic right here. It's one of the best sounding boom mics I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
see-
I'm impressed.
Yep. Remember when I did it with the 860?
Yeah,
The,
it's-
That was
It's a
good.
That
Same
was
thing.
probably the second best.
Fantastic.
I don't know. I think Sebastian's is actually better tonight. I think his audio is really
Yeah,
good.
no, I think you're now second place,
For-
Josh.
Yeah,
For a
no,
headset.
that's fine for me
Right.
to be second place, but these were I
was
for
blown
being
away
as
by the quality of
inexpensive
them.
as they are.
Yeah.
They're really good overall headphones.
But no, you can drop $300
Within arm reach.
and
What?
the boom on it will still suck. Like it is hard to find a boom mic that actually does not just sound like complete and total garbage.
And that's all USB, so it's all A to D converters and
Yeah.
standard.
This is the Corsair HS80. It's their newest wireless headset. It's $150. It's 2.4 gigahertz. There's no Bluetooth here. The selling point of this was that it is their first, and they say an industry first, to do 24-bit 48 kilohertz over wireless. Now, I know Sony has their own proprietary codec. They do kind of high-res streaming to their own devices. We're talking like gaming headsets here. So in the past, we've had 16-bit 48 kilohertz wireless. This one will do 24. So they're kind of pushing the limits, I think, of what they can do on this connection. This is using their Slipstream wireless 2.4 gigahertz dongle-based approach. And yes, I embrace the dongle lifestyle because it means I don't have to deal with lossy compression that is inherent in Bluetooth. Plus, this is lower latency than Bluetooth. Now, one of the big features of this is not just that it's high-res compatible, technically because of the 24-bit thing, but it is Dolby Atmos spatial audio compatible, which I found a little... Okay, it's a little tricky. First of all, you have to, if you're on Windows, you have to go to the Microsoft Store and download a Dolby app to enable it on your system. Otherwise, you have to use the generic Windows spatial audio thing. But I knew there was a lot of Apple content that is officially like Dolby, like sanctioned, Dolby licensed, whatever. So I did the unthinkable. You can get IQ software for Mac or Windows. I downloaded the Mac version. I connected these to a Mac at one point during testing to try out spatial audio. I'll get to that in a moment. Look at this headband here. I'll just briefly cover
That's
this.
cool. That's cool.
It's a sort of floating retention mechanism. So you have an elastic band that actually touches your head, and the headband itself sort of floats above your hair or above your skull. It really depends on the person. And this is kind of an interesting feel. I thought it was great. The feeling of just like the elastic, it didn't feel like these are 13 ounces. They're not particularly heavy to begin with, but it had kind of a light, bouncy feel to it. And the ear cups have big foam pads that are covered in what feels almost like a corduroy. So they'll never get that sticky feeling like the vinyl ones do. If you sweat a lot.
But when you walk down the hall, do you get the zip zip sound?
Oh, of the brushing against each other?
It's the joke. When I was in 7th grade and wore corduroy jeans, you could always hear me coming 30 feet away.
Zip, 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 zip.
Yeah, exactly.
Where was I?
Certainly not
Comfort
corduroy.
of corduroy.
Comfort, fit and comfort.
I am getting a little sibilance off the mic. I mean, there's no
Okay.
breath. There's no breath shield or anything like that, or pop shield or anything. So.
Apparently, my audio is also a little low, and I had the
It
mic
is,
volume
it
turned
is.
up to 100 in Windows.
It's missing some audio space. Like it's not filling the entire spatial area.
Okay.
It's a little compressed, but it's not
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's not. It's,
No,
it's
but for a boom mic, it's freaking decent, man.
bad. Yeah.
I will say, I always give gaming headsets to my wife. She has.
2 dozen.
I begrudgingly respect her opinions on them for some reason. I trust my opinion on sound quality, but she points stuff out about gaming headsets. She's a very headphone sound oriented kind of a person. So she put these on and immediately was like, I don't like the way these feel. Like, what? I think they feel great.
Like
She's
the ear
no,
cups
they're
were
too
no
tight.
good?
No, the headband was too tight. She didn't like the like. Is it the clamping force? She's like, no, it's not clamping force. It's not the pressure against the sides of my head. It's squeezing the top of my head. And I stared at these for a minute. I don't think I got a good picture of this. Under the band on each side is a Velcro adjustment. You can change the length of this band easily. There's the little strap down here. So I just
okay.
loosened it a little bit on both sides, and she's like, that's great. That feels good now. And actually, that reduced the clamping force slightly because it wasn't pulling against the sides as much when it was on my head. So these are more configurable than I thought. I thought, oh, it's stretchy, it's one size fits all. No, no, no. It's got an adjustment like on a ball cap. So you can make it fit your head better than I thought. Plus these ear cups rotate quite a bit and they can rotate completely flat. So I thought comfort was very good. They're not too heavy. Their sound, their lower frequency control and depth is outstanding. I did some like audio sweep tests. It'll do 30 hertz with power and control. Rolls off very fast below that, but highs were very crisp. They have kind of a bright sound, Josh. They have that grado sound. They're mid-rangey and
Heavy, yeah.
kind of aggressive sounding. They're not that scooped Smile EQ sound at all. And I did some spatial audio testing. Here's a little screenshot. I was listening to like the spatial audio, made for spatial audio Dolby Atmos demos. And it's interesting. It's a subtle sort of effect that just sounds like they've remastered the track to isolate things to the left and right channel more. But it did a good job. I thought these were great. I was surprised that I saw some reviews that weren't as high on the sound quality as I was. But it's like, what else do you want? The only thing I really didn't like was headroom of the audio amplifier in wireless mode, which I kind of expect. This is the thing I ran into the last time I did a pair of wireless headphones. You just don't have enough power to listen at high volumes and still get that dynamic punch when the sound gets louder. There was nowhere else for it to go. They had more headroom when it was plugged in, but when I backed off to what I think regular people would consider a normal listening level, which is not, one click away from full blast, then it was dynamic. So I still gave it the editor's choice because I was kind of surprised at the price. I thought this would be kind of in the $200 range because that's where other premium wireless headsets have been recently, but the sound is really, really good out of these. Though I am biased towards that sort of grado sound. I like it.
Mid forward.
Yeah, I like it when horns, and I listen to a lot of jazz, so like the saxophone is very prominent, the piano is very prominent, but the drums are still clean and crisp, and the bass is very well controlled. These are like the best.
So it's tight. The bass
wireless
is tight,
jazz
not muddy.
headphones I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
but other things like soundtrack audio is very good. It feels like a small sub. Imagine like an 8-inch sub in your room. It's not overpowering, but you can feel that bass, like the sub that would come with a pair of 2.1 desktop speakers, like the old Logitech Z2300s.
But did
I
it
used
help
to have.
satisfy your secret love of ska?
My wife likes ska. I don't like ska.
Oh, boy, I didn't
Is that
know
the
that.
impression
There
that
we
you get?
You went there.
I did.
go. I went there.
Yeah. Yep. Well, Josh, he went there even slightly harder.
I blame what there's a contentious. I probably cut this out. There's a contentious thing in our household where I constantly accuse my wife of being hard of hearing.
Oh, she's just a
Because-
girl.
She's just ignoring you.
She went to a lot of shows, as she calls it. I like going to shows for her was her and her friend going to see whatever punk or ska band was in town. And it was usually in a small venue like a bar, very close to the stage.
Yeah.
And
But
then
very loud.
she went to like she would go to music festivals. She went to Bonnaroo.
A bunch of Marshall stacks pointed directly at her.
When you're
Yeah.
up
Oh, yeah.
front at a music show like Bonnaroo, where they're outdoors and it's huge speakers at the front of the stage,
Stacks.
it's like
Big stacks.
you get hearing loss over a certain. You get it pretty fast.
No, I want it quickly. I want it in a small enclosed space with those same speakers. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we have a bot.
And-
I don't know if you've heard of Bell's Beer, but
Aye.
Bell's Beer is actually local to us. So the Bell's Bar, their official bar, is downtown Kalamazoo. They actually make the stuff in Galesburg, Michigan. But Bell's is a venue for a lot of artists who come through Kalamazoo. So in the pre-COVID times, there were a lot of shows there, and she would go there. And I went to, I think, one small venue show with her, and it was just too loud. It was too loud for me. I could not.
Was it Mike
handle
Oldfield?
She was. She would go
Wait,
to
is
like,
that the guy who did the bells?
Bells.
Yes.
Bells. Yes, Mike Oldfield bells.
Tubular bells.
Tubular bells.
Oh Lord!
I don't
Which
know
also, in a very small enclosed place, would be deafening.
Probably hurt. Yeah.
I don't know the names of all the stuff that she listened to. I know she went to a Mustard Plug show at Bell's once,
Oh, good name.
but we went to like she likes like the Black Keys too, so like stuff like that, like the more like mainstream rock kind of stuff.
Okay.
We went to a Black Keys show together, but that was a big
So
thing.
you didn't go to like Fishbone or anything. Good.
I didn't go to anything like that. She's been to everything. It's like she's very proud of the fact that she's seen Tenacious D twice, and I haven't gotten to see them, but she has.
Anyway.
Yes. Moving on to picks,
Picks
Of
of
the
the week.
and as is customary, Josh will start us off.
Sub $200 2 terabyte NVMe SSD. It's I've heard of these guys before. They're now the new kind of budget group, the Inland Platinum 2 terabyte. I think it's a E12 Phison E12 controller. You know, it's got DRAM, and you know, it's the 3400 read, 3000 write. And I mean, the IOPS aren't anything amazing, but for under $200, it's a solid performer. And yeah, I can't say enough about having a NVMe as a game drive. And with 2 terabytes, you've got enough space to be able to juggle around quite a few titles. Not as much as 4 terabytes, but you know, beggars can't be choosers.
It's a numbers game.
Yeah.
I was just thinking there was somebody who was being really snarky on Twitter last week about, maybe it was the week before, a post I did where I quoted a press release talking about DDR5 memory, and it was 4,800 megahertz, I think. They're like, is it megahertz or is it mega transfers per second? I said,
could you just
okay,
express that as
the
MIB?
I said the product name is 4,800 megahertz, whatever. It was actually in the product name. I said, obviously, it'd be more correct saying MTS, but, you know, think about it. Are you going to then condemn anybody who talks about 3,600 memory because it's really only 1,800, but it's DDR, so it's effective 36, but it's 3,600 megahertz per second?
So do you also measure storage in gigabytes?
Right, this is
as
what I
opposed to
said.
Gigabytes?
Then I was feeling clever, so I said, are you going to also complain when any article ever quotes megabytes and gigabytes instead of megabytes and gigabytes?
That was the one that I saw when you wrote that one.
And there was no reply.
Mib and Gib.
Checkmate.
Yep.
All right, moving on.
I've seen
Jeremy.
the same complaint.
Jeremy.
Well, I mean, I still can't help you with a GPU unless you want to buy an entire system with a nice GPU in it for the same price that some arsehole is going to try and sell you a GPU for. But are Ryzen CPUs ever getting dirt cheap? Like right now, they've knocked the 3700X down to 324 Canadian. I'm betting if you went to the American version, it would not be much more than about 260, 280. Which is just stupid cheap for a really good part. I kind of wish it was an APU. I kind of wish that both Intel and AMD were a bit more providing with the APU, so at least you could have a graphics output as opposed to that old GT 6800 you got sitting around somewhere that you still have to use.
In the U.S.
Oh, God, you guys are getting ripped off.
309, but this is
309.
That's Ant Online. Oh, I can buy it used for 289 though.
Yeah, well, this
Gently
ain't
used.
used.
Gently.
Yeah.
Only mind about.
Gently used.
So yeah, if you're American, don't pay attention to this. But well, yeah, it's still 289. But yeah, up here, up north, and if you don't like Newegg, a lot of the local retailers are selling it about the same price. It's frickin' brilliant. It's got a bit of cache to it. It's also got a nice 4.4 gigahertz boost to it, and honestly has enough cores for just about everything you want to use. There was a better deal, but it ended in 4 hours, so I decided not to tease people.
Okay. It's the tradition, though. We always talk about things that.
Don't you tease me, please me.
All right, Brett.
Yeah, there's been. Oh, yeah. So I'm all about
What you
bringing
got?
I'm all about bringing the tool wherever.
So
you
the
need to go.
Skeletool is the
I love the
Leatherman
Skeletool.
Skeletool is
I
actually
love this one.
allowed to be brought on
TSA?
airplanes.
No, no, this is not. But I just was using this to illustrate my point. This is my usual pocket tool without the hole cut in my pocket.
Yeah, because they're nice
This
and
is-
light.
Love this one. This is fantastic. The best part about this particular tool is the fact that it has a very nice pocket clip on it, so that it's right there, doesn't walk around in your pocket, so it's deployable. The problem is that when you get on an aircraft and you go someplace, they don't like this sort of thing. In fact, they frown upon it, mostly because it has things like the pokey bits, in this.
Yeah.
They don't like that sort of thing, so they say no.
But they
you
have
can't bring
wonderful
in an
sales
aircraft.
where you can buy entire boxes of them afterwards.
Yeah,
That they've taken
there's
people
like-
away from.
Big sale. You could do dumpster diving, perhaps, but yeah, you cannot bring this on an aircraft. But I did find one, I think, that advertises itself as TSA compatible because it has no pokey bits on it. If you'd like to
I
travel
don't
with a
know.
tool, if you like to travel with a tool, and I know I do, and if you're like me, then I know I am.
Well, you need something to play
for-
with on the flight.
Well, there's that, and if you really think you might need a tool wherever you're going, this is not a bad alternative. And it's roughly, I priced this at full price. This is the previous generation. This is the SOG Sync 1 travel multi-tool. Usually about $50, even for the latest version. This is a Woot sale, $25. It doubles as a belt buckle if you really wanted to use it that way. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that in front of the TSA because
no,
it
you
looks like you're trying to
probably
hide it.
shouldn't.
Nope, make it pretty clear that you're carrying it, but it's not. It has no dangerous appendages within.
It says TSA compliant right here. I highlighted it.
It
Yeah.
does.
They
So this is
promised.
yeah.
Hey, I swore I have no dangerous appendages, and the TSA wouldn't let me on a flight. So,
There's a particular reason for that, Ron. Jeremy.
well, that's true. Fine.
Yeah. So
Bring
what I'm
that up.
saying is, if you're a typical tool wielder and feel like you may want to take something with you, on a flight, this might be your ticket to ride. So, 25
Well, for
bucks is-
$25, yeah.
exactly.
If they take it away from you, you're not going to cry.
Exactly. So, but
Unlike
don't,
my
don't
aunt's
try and
pepper
hide it.
jelly.
That's just ridiculous.
They took that
Don't-
away.
And I felt toolless when I ended up in California, completely toolless.
Well, it's California, so there's plenty of,
There were plenty of tools walking around at that point. Yeah.
Sebastian, do you actually have a bloody pick?
I do, and
does.
this is very topical because today I had a technician come out to look at our air conditioning unit outside because it had quit working. It wasn't working all that well, and then yesterday afternoon it stopped entirely, and it's been 91 to 94 degrees with high
Ew.
humidity for the last few days. And I looked at the forecast, like, it's August, it's late August, can I just wait till spring to have my AC replaced or something?
Yeah.
No, I'm looking at the forecast, and
Surprise!
my wife is dying. She doesn't like it when it's hot at
90,
night, so she
94,
can't sleep. And
95.
No, that heat dome I had about a week and a bit ago. Well, your turn.
Yeah,
Parked.
it's like July again, and we're on August 25. But anyway, I had kind of thought it might be a start capacitor for the fan. And I went out and poked the fan with a stick, and I got it running again, but it was only running at like half speed. Like, this is wrong. And it was blowing warm air. I was very concerned. I needed a new AC unit. But the tech came out today, does some, fiddling around, and then walks up to me with one of these round dual run capacitors. And he's like, see how that's bulging? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, that's supposed to be flat. I'm like, right. Bulging capacitors are bad.
Bad.
So he replaced it real quick, and everything
That's
works
bad,
fine.
and Kate.
And then, of course, after he
Huzzah.
left, I looked it up, and I'm like, wow, these are not expensive. This is less than I paid. Multiply this $23 by, 10, and that's what
Move
I had
the
to pay for
decimal
him
point.
to replace this $23 part. But it's like it was
Yeah.
100 and something for him to even come out. It's
What are the
hot.
specs on them?
It's hot.
How much is that?
Oh, you know what? Actually, I think
Oh.
it was a higher rated one than this. It's a 60, I think, 60 plus 10. Okay, it might have been a little bit more expensive than that. Because I'm looking, this one's $38. That's a 50 plus 5. So 50 plus.
No, our phone system blew a fuse about a month ago.
Yeah.
And you remember back in the day when you could just find an electronics store that could sell you a fuse?
It was called Radio Shack.
Yeah, I remember
No
those
longer.
places. That was great.
They're not. They don't exist anymore.
I know.
And the 2 or 3 that do, that I actually visited personally, are like, well, yeah, technically they still pay us rent, but they don't really exist there. We think they're sort of a cover for something else. Okay,
Seriously?
good to know, but all I wanted was a capacitor. Or in this case, a fuse.
I had a pair of speakers. The mid-range went out on one of them. I pull out the crossover. I was looking at it, and I could see that one of the resistors was cracked. It's like, oh, and it was a pin through, super easy. I'm not very good at soldering, but I'm like, I can do this. Of course, Radio Shack doesn't exist anymore. I ended up having to find it from a third-party seller on Amazon, and I had to buy 10 of them. It took like a week. So finally, I get this thing in the mail. It's a card with all these capacitors. I pull one off. I solder it in, and the speaker works great, but I miss being able to drive down the road and just like go through the bins and find
Get the
stuff like
stuff.
that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh well. All right. Well, that was my pick. AC works again.
Allelectronics.com. Also.
Yeah, but I want in
I know.
town, Brett. Brick
I
and
know.
mortar.
Yeah. Sorry. That you're an audience of one, or we were.
No,
we
there's-
are an
there's
audience of
plenty
a
of
handful of people.
Just like me,
There are.
at or over the age of 40, who miss
Sure.
Radio Shack.
And know how to solder.
And don't pretend
Yep.
like you're the
So
kid.
the
of
source
group,
is the
Brett.
same thing.
Don't pretend what?
Don't forget you're like the kid here. Like, oh, embrace the internet. Just order it from, electronicparts.com. Like, no, I want to
Yeah,
go into
I
a
know.
store.
I'm
I miss
forced to
shopping
agree
at
with
Toys
you.
R Us for my son. I liked going into the
Oh,
store
we
to
still
look
have
at
that up here.
Oh, you
for
do?
some reason.
Jeffrey the giraffe.
We don't have
Jeffrey
Oh yeah,
the
it's
giraffe.
crap. We also have the source, which is the last remaining bits of Radio Shack, and it's awful.
Great.
It's like discount Best Buy.
Or
Oh.
fries.
Wait, Discount
Fries,
Best Buy was
even
called
worse. Oh, no,
Circuit City, and that
Discount
went out
Best
of-
Buy.
that went out
Come
of
on, I've
business.
still got Optimus speakers in my house.
Me
So.
too.
And they still work,
Yeah.
don't they?
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
and
they
they
do.
still go strong.
I had a set of.
Yep.
Still have a set of Minimus 7s. Remember those, the little metal ones? Those, and they
Yep,
sounded
that's-
really
they're-
good for their size.
They're my surround speakers
Yeah,
Nice.
for 7.1.
Nice.
Excellent, excellent. Really much bigger than their size would lend you to believe.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, it's that time. We've reached the end of another show. We did it, and we've returned to a longer format. I'm not sure how long it'll be after we cut a few things out, but
And this
probably
was
an hour
only
and a
like
half.
8 stories too.
I know.
It's
That's
because we had
tired.
like a 2 weeks sort of thing, and we kind of felt like fresh coming into it. I guess maybe I don't know.
No, I don't think so. I don't feel fresh at
Okay.
all.
All right.
I mean, it was
Have
90
you
degrees in the house
tried?
all day yesterday, and it was 85 all night, so I don't feel fresh.
Oh, that's
Have
right.
you tried Morning Fresh?
no.
I'm afraid to ask what you mean by that.
Well,
You know,
for any
fresh-
female listeners, don't use it. It's
Never
not
mind.
worth it, and
I
not
knew.
good for
Brett,
I
have you
knew.
ever felt,
yeah, it's not good for you.
not
That not so
fresh
fresh feeling? Yeah.
You know,
That not so
Yeah.
fresh feeling
down there?
You know what? I have.
Gotta hit
Gold
it with that
bond.
talc, hit it with the talcum
Yeah,
powder.
anyway.
Which
Oh,
you can't
talc.
buy
Gold bond.
anymore. You can't buy talcum powder anymore. It's outrageous. Just because
just
of,
be
just
using a
because it's a
lawnmower.
carcinogen.
What's a little bit of
Cancer.
frickin'?
All right. Tune in again next week because we will be
Thanks.
back. That is a
Is
threat.
it asbestos or fiberglass? I don't even remember anymore.
I don't know.
It's a wonderful, delicious
I think it
mixture.
was
of both.
asbestos.
It's some kind of gypsum.
I'm
Yep,
trying
even
to end
before.
this
Let's-
show
let's
as
move
best
along.
as I can.
You can't.
And
do
we're
not
wiping
working.
ourselves with drywall. Sorry about that.
Scratchy.
Would you like a clean break so that you can edit that in, Sebastian?
No. This is all staying.
Good.
This is the rambling outro that I'll just put the music over it. I'll shrink this box down to 70%, and that's just gonna
Mom,
fade it
I have
out.
to ask you a personal question.
No.
Hey, send this
No.
part to Dev Null. Dev Null this. Bye bye.
Anyway, thanks for joining us for the PC Perspective podcast. This has been episode number 600 and blah, blah, blah. And we've enjoyed talking to you some more and blah, blah, blah. And anyway, y'all have
I gotta go.
Wonderful evening,
Go home.
morning /
Go home.
afternoon. Good night.
I'm not Chevy Chase, and you're not either.
I have no thoughts.
Tune in again next week for more quality content like this. Good night.
You know what killed me was the wink. That's what broke me up.
That guy.
That's
Quality
what broke me.
content.
I had forgotten this even
Well,
happened.
it's certainly content.
Do you remember during, right when the lockdown first started last year?
Wasn't it 3 years ago?
I don't remember.
Right.
I did some kind of weird message just telling people to hang in there. And then I think Josh, because it was just like a video I shared in the chat or something, and then Josh tweeted it out or something. And I'd forgotten I even did it because it's an unlisted video, and then I found it in my account. Like, what the hell is this? Like, okay, I don't remember doing this, but
Apparently you did.
it was far more uncomfortable than anything that has happened on this show. I'll add it
Disconcerting
in.
almost.
I'll add it in as a little bonus at the end of this episode. Okay.
Oh my god.
All right.
Hey, what time is it anyways? Oh my gosh, it's midnight.
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock.
Finally, we did it. We did a 2-hour show again.
Hooray.
People,
It's like the gym old days.
I just,
What?
I just got an email alert on my watch from Rossville Quilts.
Why?
Can you believe that August is already coming to an end? Where did the summer go? On that note, our sewing machine... No, trash. How did you get my
Trash.
email? How did you get my email, Rossville Quilts?
Sewing machine. It's
Yeah.
great.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe
By the
your
way,
wife signed it up for you. She's hinting at a foot warmer for the cold winter months that might come. In theory, there will be a winter again.
I don't see it. I think I'll never use a blanket again. It's been too hot to even use a sheet.
What's that?
It's uncomfortable.
So next
All
week,
right, I have
next
to
week,
go.
Jeremy.
I have to go bathroom because my bladder's full and I'm tired.
Okay,
all right.
Jeremy,
And,
you're gonna be out
Don't
next
pee
week.
yourself.
Yeah.
What?
Or on
No, I
yourself.
think
or
be out
whatever.
next week. What?
Aim for the. Jeremy, you're
Me.
gonna be gone next week, probably, right?
Again?
Yeah.
Hey,
Well,
maybe you should
COVID-
ask. You can ask Tom.
Kent. Or
Yeah,
Tom.
Kent-
or
Well,
both.
Kent's gonna come in probably. He's got some reviews to do.
He's got
but,
2
maybe
reviews.
Tom-
Awesome.
Yep. Well, he's got one in the system. He's got another one he's working
Yeah, I
on
gotta
right now.
put. You
so.
sent me 2. I've only put 1 in, so I'll put the other
Okay.
one in.
It's
And I might
it's
phone in
Sebastian's
from the
fault.
ferry just to be an ass.
Yeah, do that.
I'll
like to see
just
some
hold,
live
I'll just
ferry
hold my phone
pictures.
up like, and now live from a ferry.
Yeah.
Jeremy Hellstrom.
Well, no, I was going to use the crappy headphones and the
Oh,
speaker.
okay. Oh, nice.
And we're back to
yeah.
masking up, so I can actually put the speaker inside the mask, which might or might not
Just
help.
put your phone inside the mask. Just
You
like,
should definitely do that.
Who needs a microphone?
I'll look at that.
Who needs?
Because then, I mean, my arms do get tired.
Don't we all?
Do it. Do it.
Especially
Yeah, we'll
after
figure something out for
Halloween.
next week.
We're in after show territory.
Dozens of pounds of cod
Oh yeah.
and maybe some salmon.
Yeah. So catch some stuff. So, hey, Josh, you bringing in the
What?
tomato plants, by the way, because people love the live tomato plant shots. You should definitely be bringing those in
Not yet,
on
but
camera.
we're going to start doing that here soon because it's going to get colder quickly.
I read that.
Oh,
your,
geez,
your
you should
temps
see the
were,
plants I need to.
Your temps are already dropping
45?
there, right?
Yeah, 45 to 43 every night.
Overnights.
Oh.
40s.
Yep.
Lovely.
Yeah, mountain weather.
But they do like to get a little bit of cold weather before you harvest. Crisps them up.
Sure. But we need them to grow a little bit more
Yeah.
to actually get something
Well,
on
then
them.
bring them
So,
in.
Yeah. All right, guys. You have a
All
good
right.
one.
All right.
Thanks for your
All right,
commentary,
Josh.
man. See ya.
See ya.
It is. It's still hot. It's not as hot.
It's okay. Yeah.
Let's see.
It was
right now.
94 here today. It was stupid, sweaty
Let's see.
outside.
It's
Ridiculous.
currently 77 at midnight.
Mhm.
And let's see. Tomorrow's forecast 89. Then Friday will be 88 with rain. 92 on Saturday. 90 on Sunday. Oh, and then it gets cold. 84 degrees
Oh my gosh.
on Monday with rain. Wow. I could have held out if we could just hold out a couple more days. Wouldn't have had to get the AC fixed, but I'm glad it's over. Our day-long crisis is at an end. Of course, I have the air off right now because it's really loud when it runs down here, and I'm covered as usual in sweat. I just get
in a nice
wetter and wetter looking.
sheen
as
of
we go.
sweat. Yeah.
Hmm.
You have to repopulate your background with old but still interesting hardware.
Hold on, I just realized we're still streaming. Jeremy and Josh have both left.
Oh, I didn't know Jeremy left.
Hey, look, he's frozen. He's gone.
He is. He is.
Okay. All right. Well, I
This
think
is probably where we should call
we
it.
should just call it a night. Brett.
Hey, good night.
Yeah, it's nice to see you
Yep, you
virtually
guys have
like
good
this.
night.
I'm gonna hit the stream
Yep.
button and end this thing.